world, and we're back. My name is Kyle Fischl, and today is December 16th, and I'm going to talk about my last 2 weeks playing poker. So, I'm actually on pretty much the biggest upswing of a poker career that I have. It's mainly because I had the biggest session with the single biggest pot I've ever won ever, but you'll see that later. But yeah, the last 3 sessions, I've had 3 winning sessions. Decent. Everything's been going good with it. My bluffs are getting folded to, and my value bets are getting called, even very thin value. So, yeah, I'll go over a few hands as well as the biggest ones, because I think that your value hands lead up to bluffs, and that's kind of how you kind of do that dance. And when everything goes right, you make a lot of money, and everything's going right for me right now. So that's good. To start out with, I'll tell you about a good bluff that I did. On the button, I look down at Queen Jack of clubs, and I make it 30 because there's 3-4 limp, and it comes to me. I make it 30 with Queen Jack suited on the button, pretty standard, I'd say. And one player calls. The player who calls is the most aggressive player at the table. He bets all the time, and he's willing to throw money around if you let him. He's very, very aggressive, and he's actually led into me a few times with boards that didn't connect with me, and I've just folded. So I think set the stage to fight back. The flop is 9-6-3, all offsuit, 9 of clubs. So it's obviously a board I don't particularly like, and he does. He leads into me for $50. Now, because he does this, I think this is a perfect spot to just raise bluff and then continue if I need to, because I folded to all his aggression before, and now I'm raising him. I could easily have tens plus. Like, I raised and then raised. I could have tens plus. I have ace 9. I could have, ace king that just feels frisky. And, with a lot of good turn cards, I can continue. So when he makes it 50, I raise it to 115. He calls because he's very aggressive, very active. I see him going at least 2 streets with me already. That's my plan. And the turn is an offsuit deuce, full rainbow. So not even deuce of clubs to give me some backdoors. But when he checks to me, it's time to continue the story. I bet 120 as if I have tens or, queens or jacks, something like that. And story checks out. He folds. So definitely a good result there.
I was bluffing. I didn't even have enough cards.
That was a good hand. For that session, the most notable hand for that session, a very good regular at the table. He opens for 25 pretty early. There's 4 callers, and I'm on the button with pocket 9s. Now, this is very borderline, like call or raise. I think has a lot of merit. I think if you call, you're only hoping to flop a 9, and if not, you're going to give up. But if you raise, you get a chance to win $100. So that's what I choose to do. I make it 150. I think it's a sizing that can get a lot of people folds. And I know if I get through the first aggressor, who's the good regular, everyone else should fold, and I just won $100. Awesome. That does not happen. So the good regular makes it 400. Everyone else folds, it's back to me. Now, this is probably a fold. It just is. It's probably a fold. But I do the math and the implied odds, and it's 250 to win about 600. If it's I'm really hoping for a very low flop where I can somehow have an overpair with 9s, because this player's gonna have to do ace king, ace queen, things like that with it. I've seen him do things with even less, like 8s or 7s, and then show. So I don't have to be behind here, but in reality, I think this is just a fold. But I'm greedy, and I see implied odds, so I go with it. Flop is queen 9 deuce. I just look at him with this face like, I don't really know what I did, but I remember in my mind I was thinking like, please check. So subconsciously try to get your face to look like please check, because I don't want him to check. But that's just what I did. I don't know if it worked or anything, but the video was probably terrible for what I actually looked like. Oh well. But nah, he ships it in. I insta call, slam down nines, and he has kings. And turns a 10, so there's always a sweat. So now he gets a jack or a king to win. But the nines hold up, we get a full double up, and, we leave that day a winner. Alright, so the next day that I went was, the next week. Things went pretty standard. One hand that was kind of fun is I have aces. I open for 25, get 4 callers. Guy on the small blind makes it 125, and I just shove all in. No mistakes. No, I got it in with aces, whatever. And it folds around, but folds around really slowly, like everyone's thinking it. No one ever gives me credit, so. But, it's hard. It's $225. We'll take it. No need to get crazy with aces. Just take the money. We build our stack up a bit. We buy it for 800 and we get it up to 1400, 1500, somewhere around there. And I'm about to leave until I look down at pocket queens. Like, I'm literally about to leave. And I look at queens. I'm like, all right, I'll leave after this hand. So I make it 35 after a few limpers to me. I think it's pretty standard in this game. This game's playing kind of big. It's the main game. It's been going on for a while. Everyone at this table has about 2,000 in front of them, so 35 is really not that big in this game. The most, I wouldn't even say aggressive, but the most active and spewy player at the table, who has, went all in for $1,000 pre-flop with ace-queen offsuit, like, he calls, and that's kind of the player I'd like to call, and also not like to call at the same time. Because if the flop's king high, he's going to bet huge multiple times, and he's shown bluffs. He doesn't have to have it. So I kind of want him in there, and I kind of don't want him in there at the same time, if that makes sense. Because he'll put you in a difficult spot. He'll make you squirm. All that goes out the window when the flop is queen 7-4, all offsuit. And he's in the small blind, and he literally says, I'm ready to get in with you right now, and then bets 100. I honestly didn't know what to do here because I guess 5-6 is the best hand you can have. 4s and 7s, you're pretty much dead. And if you have ace queen, you're still pretty thin. I feel like if I just shove all in, he's going to fold. I feel like if I raise, he might fold anyway. And if he does have 4s or 7s, it's going to get in by the river anyway. It's just going to happen. So I usually do the trappy kind of plays when I have, the monsters, all the cards. If you've seen my last video, you've seen when I flopped, a full house. I'm a trappy kind of person. So I just call the 100, and the turn is an ace, which I don't really like the ace because I could have aces, and that might make him fold. I could have ace queen if he has just like king queen or something, he's gonna fold. Like, there's many hands for how spewy this guy is. There's many hands that an ace can scare away, so I don't really like that. But when he checks to me, I can never check here, ever. Never, in 200 years, can never check here. So I bet 150. He thinks for a while, then calls. And the river is another ace. Now that's pretty bad because, if he did have ace-queen, he did get there. And he could have ace-queen. He's the kind of guy that I'm ready to get in with you, flop a queen, let's go. And then get running full house that beats, my full house. But either way, or size of the pot, the value of my hand, when he checks to me, I bet 275. And he thinks for a while, like over 2 minutes. And during this time, I'm just like, man, I think he's going to shove. And when he shoves, I'm just calling. If you have ace-4, ace-7, ace-queen, you win. But you can't have aces because you definitely re-raised me pre-flop. And, I beat 4s, I beat 7s. But if you have ace-4, ace-7, ace-queen, pretty unlucky run out. But I could have said I just got all in on the flop when he said he would have. And that kind of goes through my head too. Like if he just jams, I'm calling because I would have called on the flop anyway. And the run out would have been unlucky, but okay. So that does happen. He says all in very quietly. I snap call him. He shows 7s, I show queens. and that was a full $1,400-$1,500 stack double up for me. It's the biggest pot of my life, and I left right after it. So even though we won pretty big these last few sessions, I usually go Saturday and Sunday. So Sunday, I go as well. The table's decent. Like, there are some people who I consider to be actual professional poker players at the table, but there's also people that are regulars, but I consider them to be regular, like, losers. That's rude. Is what it is. So I'm ready to play with them. So yeah, I played a few hands pretty good there. I folded for the first like 3 laps, just wasn't getting anything. Then I had ace queen suited. Someone made it 25. I made it 80 in the small blind. Person who raised is one of the people I consider to be a professional player. So I'm not really happy when they call, but they've been calling with a really wide range, really wide. Like, they've been calling people down with like just middle pair and being correct. So I'm hoping to get top pair versus middle pair, just get some value. But the flop comes 2, 4, 9, all off suit. And I'm in the small blind, so when I'm first to act, I can't let this check, because they will bet and it'll force me off it. So my plan is just to continue my story, that I have a big hand, I have an overpair, because this is the first hand I've played in 3 or 4 laps. Like, I haven't played a hand, and now I come in with a 3-bet. Like, yeah, I could easily have aces, kings, queens. I haven't played in 30 hands, and I play 1. So I'm ready to throw the bluff out there. I bet the same amount. I bet 80, and they call, which I'm not really happy with. The turn is which is actually a good card, because now it's 2, 3, 4 on board, and I have an ace. So even if I am behind, like, you know, she has a 9 or something, and she chooses to call 2 streets, I can bink with a 5. You know, an ace is decent, a queen is good. So I bet 130, and she does fold. So that's what I'm saying. My bluffs are getting through when I'm planning them out well and finding the right spots. Another hand that was really good for this session was I had queen 10 suited. And like I said, I was playing pretty tight, especially because the day right before I made a lot of money. So I wasn't really ready to spew or gamble or do weird things, even though I just bluffed, so it's kind of counterintuitive, but it is what it is. I was playing tight. So I have queen 10 suited. I make it 30. I get 2 callers. The flop is ace, ace, queen, 2 spades. And I'm first to act, and I do a really dramatic look at the high hand board, just to try to look like I have an ace. Because the people I'm versing in this hand, one is a guy I've never seen before, so probably not great. And the other guy is very loose and very spewy. And I'm totally ready to check call him all the way down, because I think he would have raised preflop with an ace. And I think my queen is good here all day. So I'm ready to just call him down all day, but I really don't want to bet. So I check, it checks. The loose spewy guy, he bets 30. I call. The guy who I don't recognize at all calls, which I really don't like, because he could have an ace. He could have an ace. The turn is a 4, so doesn't matter really. I check again. Middle guy checks, and the aggressive spewy player, he bets 35. Still ready to call him down, and this is kind of the point where I decide that if the middle player had an ace, he has to raise here. And if he just calls, he can't have an ace. And because it was ace, ace, queen, 2 spades, I think he has a flush draw. So, in my mind, if a flush misses, I'm going to lead out on the river. And that's what happens. The river is a 9 offsuit. And I decide to lead out for 60 of an actual value bet now. I believe a pair of queens is good here against 2 people who, one I believe has a flush draw, one is just spewy aggressive, and I don't think he's going to bet the river with whatever he's doing. So I lead out for 60. Middle guy folds, so I think he had a flush draw, and the aggressive guy calls. And I say, I got a queen. He said he had a queen too, but I'm like, all right, my 10 should play. Like, you would just show if you had king, queen, queen, jack. So, yeah, take that one down. So, yeah, that was definitely a good result for that hand. You know, I felt like I played it and got almost max value, which is always what you want. After that, I stepped away for a minute and I got a drink because I usually do that at the tables. When I came back, there were three or four new people at the table, and they were like people playing the 5-5 game, which had like $5,000 each. And they come in and they're shoving their $1,000 chips in their pocket and just sitting at the maximum of 800 at this table. And so now I'll just talk about something that's pretty important in poker, and that is game selection. Just because you're there at the casino, if the game isn't good, you don't have to play. It's easy. Like, I was up like $406 at the table. I saw these three people sit down. I was there for one lap, and they're doing like $300 call downs with like they were playing big for a 2-5 game by far, and I wasn't gonna play with them. I was gonna book my win, and I'll wait for the regs who I consider to be regular losers to be at the table rather than these guys. Just don't need to risk it against them. So, yeah, I was only there an hour and booked a $400 win on top of that. So that concludes my upswing for the last 2 weeks. It's been pretty good, pretty wild. Hope it continues. So I thank you all for watching. I appreciate subscribers. I appreciate comments. It helps me get better. I actually read them all, and they give me advice on hands and things that could have helped, and I think that they are helping. So please leave me a comment if you think I played a hand weird or bad or good or whatever. I love reading them. I usually respond. So thank you. There'll be more next week.